Okay, so let's imagine we need to track more than one thing that we are collecting. So for example, in this game, perhaps I need to collect a number of screws to finish a level. So we need to track the number of screws that are collected. And we maybe need to track something else for scoring, something like collecting a series of badges, for instance. Okay, so I'm going to use two different values now. I'm just going to set up this badge at smaller size. I'm going to add a circle collider to it, and I'm going to tag this, not a screw this time. I'll add another custom tag of badge. Okay, and I'll tag that as badge and make it into a prefab so I can reuse that object several times. So I'll pop it in there. Make sure I pop that in where I've got my other prefabs. I could, of course, set up a new folder for my prefabs to keep track of those, but that should be fine. Okay, so next I need to go into my script that I'm doing the actual scoring in, which is this one. And in there I've set up a score. Now I might still want to score, but let's say I need to have a number of screws. And that will set up a variable in which you can store the number of screws collected. Remember that you should be commenting your code. Commenting your code will help with understanding exactly what the code does. Start those with a double slash, and anything after the double slash will be ignored until you go on to the next line. I'll also set a public integer for the badges, and that will store number of badges. So what am I going to do with that? Maybe I'll leave the score for now and just track those screw and badge collections. So if I get a screw, instead of it adding to the score, I want that to add to the screw value. So I'll change score for screw. And so that makes sense. And then what I'm just going to do is I'm going to take all of this code and I'm going to add an extra if to my on trigger enter. I'm going to say this time if my other tag is badge, that I need to add 1 to the number of badges. So when I save this now, I should then see in Unity that my script has public variables that we can track in the inspector called score, screw, and badge. And the ones that should be building up when we test this game should be the screw and the badge. For now, I'll leave the score. So I'll save that. Go back into Unity and wait for it to catch up. And then I should see down here 2 new variables. There's my screw variable, there's my badge variable. So I've just added a couple of extra badges to the level. That should then help me to test it properly. I'm just going to select buggy so I can see that. There's my scores. So now I've collected 1 screw, that's added 1 to my screw value. Oh, there's a problem. And now I can't collect. What's the problem there? Let's have a look. My problem there is that I haven't made this prefab into a trigger. Okay, so if I use this as a trigger, let's just test that now. There we go. Just test that now. I should now be able to collect them. and check the code on Buggy. And I've now collected 4 screws, 3 badges. Okay, so the problem there, my debugging, was that I'd forgotten to click on my juice badge when I was setting that up, the trigger function. Okay, so I can change that in my instances of that, or I can open up my prefab and I can specifically change that within my prefab. Okay. So then I can come back out, and if I use another version of that, that should then be a trigger. Okay.